All right, joining us now, General Manager of Player and Football Operations at the RLPA, Jamie Buhrer. Welcome to the Run Home.
Hey, myself, Scope. How are you?
We're very well. It's a busy day, Jamie, a very busy day in the NRL.
Absolutely, it has. There's never a dull day in rugby league, is there?
I was going to say, I suppose when we're busy, Jamie, you're also busy as well, mate.
Particularly when it comes to rugby league, mate. Absolutely.
Yeah, so let's get straight into it, mate. The RLPA, they released a statement yesterday with regards to the Kalyn news. How was that? How has that been panning out? Have you spoke to Kalyn himself?
Well, absolutely. I mean, any issue that kind of pops up, we're always in contact with the player. So we've been engaging with Kalyn. I think the statement itself it was about more than just KP. I think KP and that situation, you could say, is probably the straw that broke the camel's back, more or less. We've had, mountains of player feedback over the years about, in the last couple of years about targeted personal media reporting. I think the statement is really just calling that out. That as a game and media, I think there's segments of the media where we can be better. We're on the eve of the finals. We've got 8, NRL and NRLW teams going into these finals. And to be fair, I haven't seen a whole lot of talk about the finals, unfortunately. And that's kind of where we need to be. And look, it's not to say that players are above criticism, and that's generally some of the feedback that we've had. I mean, we only need to look back at Manly days, the video sessions at Manly to be a fly on the wall. I mean, there was no backwards income and forwards in those. So players they understand that criticism is part of the game. But I think there's a lot of fans that would agree with our statement that, I think there's fair segments that can absolutely be better. And that's what that statement was about.
Just quickly, those video sessions, Scope, were you spraying or being sprayed?
I was always getting sprayed in video sessions, always. It was never positive. If I was in a video session, it was very rarely positive. So where does the RLPA stand on this specific situation right now, Jimmy? Like there's been so much debate, mate. Our text line here has just been going crazy over the past couple of days with regards to Kalyn's situation.
There was this deadline as well, right?
Yeah, so I want to know exactly where the RLPA stands on the position of players being able, firstly, not even just Kalyn, any player, are they able to turn down rep footy at the end of the year, mate? Because this is something that has been reported that a lot of us were unaware of, if it is the case that it's almost, if you are fit, you have to play.
Yeah, look, let's just say, first of all, it's rare. I mean, this is a rare situation where a player is kind of stepping down or standing down from rep footy. It's not common. We've got, there's a heap of players that are absolutely chomping on the bit to represent their country and their nation. I think where we're at is we feel like a player should have the ability, based on how they're feeling, to make that decision for themselves ultimately. Because we've got some elite fullbacks playing this weekend. I mean, one of them's Teddy, who is the reigning Australian fullback and captain. And then you got Dylan Edwards, is the RLPA Dream Team fullback of the year. I mean, we're not going to be short of ones in the Australian team. So I think, in this situation, I think every situation is different. This is a rare one where he's made a decision that he feels is in the best interest of him, both physically and mentally. And I think there should be a level of respect to that decision, particularly when we have so many quality players to choose from. I don't think we're all of a sudden going to see every single player put their hand up and take and make that decision. But we're of the view that a player should have an ability to make a decision that's in the best interest of them, physically and mentally, in what is a increasingly long season.
Was Kalyn's biggest mistake here that he was too honest? Because he could have easily just said, "I've got a niggle." And I can't play through injury.
I mean, yeah, you could say that. I mean, there may have been some missteps on the way, but when you go to the statement, it might have been what he didn't say. Maybe it's there very well could be underlying physical or mental drain here, and perhaps if he had said that, maybe would there have been more acceptance? You just don't know. He's had it's a very serious injury that he actually come back from this year. And the fact that he was able to come back and play to such an elite level probably leads everyone to believe that he's, fit and healthy. And I certainly don't want to speak for him in this context, but perhaps in the statement it might have been about what he didn't say, that people should be paying a bit more attention to.
Is there a world, and not necessarily this specific case, where a club that's investing $1.4 million into a player who hasn't played for a large part of the season and had a good preparation, puts pressure on that player to step down from international football?
I mean, absolutely. I can, I wasn't at the RLPA when it happened at the time, but I mean, Clint Newton, our CEO, has been a huge advocate for the international game, and he'll be happy to say, well, not happy to say, but we had to have these arguments with NRL clubs in the past. It's something that we've advocated for their right to represent their country and nation. It's something that we've always been passionate about. And where we are as a game now is there is that acceptance and that encouragement from clubs to say, you know what, go out and represent your country, represent your culture. It is that important to you. So we feel like that is something that's in the past. It's certainly not something that we believe has happened in this case. And we feel like, given where we're at from an international perspective and where the clubs and the game want to be promoting it, we don't have many concerns that, that type of behaviour is going to resurface off the back of this.
Do you think, Jimmy, it's fair to say that I think everyone would love to see a strong international brand? I think, not RLPA players and obviously the NRL, and that's something that they're trying to grow. Do you think it's just more about the planning, mate, and probably some, I guess, communication with regards to the players about the length of the season, when they do it around the Rugby World Cup year? Do you think there's definitely that the teams everyone needs to just get back to the table and discuss how we actually grow this together as a game united?
Absolutely. I think everybody wants to see International Rugby League grow, including the players. They love representing their nations. That's why I'm saying this situation is so rare. You don't see, too many players coming out and saying that, not this year. But I think it's important as a game that if we're going to continue to add international games to the calendar because we want to grow it, we need to think about it in a full calendar year. We do have All-Stars. We've had, now an extended season. We've got more teams coming in. The Pac Champs. We've got World Cup coming, World Cup qualifiers next year. There is a lot of games. We're going to see more NRLW games as well. So I think it is really important that we look to grow the international game, but have a look through the context of the full NRL season, because NRL and NRLW season, because we want our best players available. And, in this instance, what may well be the case is we may be missing some players, and likely going to miss some players in the upcoming Pac Champs due to injury, due to where they're at after a long and physical season. And if we want them available, we just need to continue to look at ways in which, we can still put on the fantastic product we got, but we've got the best players still playing at this most important time of the year, and them also being physically able to represent their nations so that we can get that level of the game to where we want it to be.
27 rounds plus Origin just seems insane to me. I was thinking the other day, what sports compare in terms of physicality that go for as long, and I couldn't think of an equal example. The only one I could think of is soccer or football. But say the English Premier League will pause in the middle of the season and have an international period. Could that be an option?
I mean, it definitely could be. I mean, there's a lot of things at play here, but there's obviously, the broadcast deal. We need to include clubs and what does a pause actually look like, because you put it in the middle of the year and there's injuries, it impacts the season. So it's really complex. And, we need to make sure that we get all the important stakeholders in the room and have a good conversation about what it's going to look like, because, we can all agree that it's important. And, the main product is obviously going to be the NRL competition, NRL and NRLW competition. But we've also got our State of Origin, we've got our Test matches and All-Stars. We've got to see where they fit so that we can make sure that the players are willing and able to give their absolute best in every one of them fixtures. So reviewing the whole season schedule and what that looks like is an important conversation.
I seen that there was a bit of an update with the Ronald Volkman situation as well too, Jimmy. Have you been in touch with him, and how has that all sort of played out from your end? Yeah,
so we have been in touch with him. Thanks, Scope, with with the past player transition program. Joey Nullivar, teammate of ours, absolutely has been a great support, and the program is there to support players like Ronald Volkman that find themselves in this situation. Now it's gotten to a reasonable spot. Frankly, it took a bit longer than we would have liked, given how quickly the NRL whacked on player-related situations. It probably dragged on a bit longer than it needed, but it has reached a resolution. The Dragons have respected responsibility, which we appreciate. And really, we just hope that something like this, doesn't have to happen again. We don't have to have this situation repeat. And ideally where we go from here is Ronald, he's a fantastic player, a great young man. Hopefully he's back playing in the NRL as early as next preseason. That'll be the best result.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Is he fit and ready to go now? Like, is the shoulder been repaired fully, and or is he still going part of the? It's quite a unique situation, right? Like, he's going through a rehabilitation process by the time he rocked up to the Dragons. So, where is he now, health-wise, like around with the shoulder?
Yeah, look, my understanding he's fit and ready to go to start preseason or thereabouts. Obviously, he hasn't been training with a club, but he has been maintaining his fitness and his rehab, and he's kind of he's looking to get it back into that club environment as soon as possible.
Do the Dragons honour any of that contract from a payment perspective?
Yeah, look, there was it reached a settlement outside of that. So, give an acknowledgement to the Dragons, work through a situation there that's reached a resolution that all parties were happy with. They've acknowledged, their fault in the matter, and we certainly do appreciate that. And as I said, hopefully this is something that across the game, we just don't see these situations happen again.
Jimmy, I know you support all players at the RLPA, but can you give us a couple of picks for the preliminary this weekend, mate? Who do you see going into the GF next week?
Oh, the tough one. I've got. We've actually got in the NRLW, Nita Maynard and Bridie Parker, who actually work for us, playing against each other on the weekend. So hopefully a draw and they can both go through. Look, I don't necessarily have a horse in any of the races, so I'm not going to tip the hat. I think there's going to be some fantastic footy. I think in the NRL, we've got Penrith and the Storm, I think, have been the two best all year. I think I'm looking forward to those games, to be honest. I think to see how they both pan out. And in the NRLW, I think it's been such an open comp. And just I'm looking forward to getting out there and watching the footy this weekend.
Geez, that was very diplomatic,
Splinters.
mate. You've really taken to this new role, Jimmy, and I'll text you privately. I'll text you privately and find out who you're really on for the weekend.
No worries. I wrote down some of the donkeys you put forward just before Hoz too, so I'll make sure I get on them as well.
Gamble responsibly, mate, of course.
All right, thank you, fellas. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Jamie.